That's what America is turning into for the working person. It's like working for that fancy restaurant that you know you can never afford to eat in as a customer. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to bring you things that will bring you down. I wish that the videos that I did, that I concentrated on, were really funny videos that, brought up your spirit and that made you feel really good. But the thing is that I feel that the times that we are living in today, we need to actually look at reality. We need to look at where it is that we are headed. Because if we don't, we are going to get trapped and we will have no way out. I just want to share this story with you because it is the story of millions of American families. And it is not spoken about enough for those of us that think that everything's all right. Even myself, I'm retired, I have a pension, I make some money off of my little side gig, which is YouTube here, which I enjoy doing, and it's great. But everything can change, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing is forever. I could lose my pension. Who knows? What if the government does go broke? What if the government defaults the next time? What if the U.S. treasuries are all sold and we go into hyperinflation? Going into hyperinflation is the same thing as losing your pension, because it means that whatever you're being paid, you're not going to have any use for it. So anything can change at any time. And for those of us that are still able to keep our heads above water, we have to be very thankful. So be thankful, pray to God every day, and be thankful for the things that you have. But you must prepare for what the future may bring. You need to know that you're not alone. And you need to know that you can make it through it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about community. Too many Americans, it already feels like we are in a deep recession. I would say that to many Americans, it already feels like they are in a depression because they are having to skim by with just the very basics and pretty much bringing their standard of living down to the very bare minimum. Remember, I've told you several times that the plan is this, ladies and gentlemen. The plan is to bring down the standard of living of everyone that lives in a Western nation to equal that of the rest of the world. This WEF thing, the Great Reset thing, whatever you want to call it, this is all about equity or equality, excuse me. I would say that it's about equity and equality, which means that everyone has the same, except for those that make the rules, of course, right? Unfortunately, the mainstream media keeps telling us that everything is just fine. They keep telling us that we should stop our whining because we haven't officially entered a recession yet. But Deutsche Bank says that one is coming. In fact, analysts at the bank are now warning that there is a 100% chance that the U.S. is heading into one. And if there is a 100% chance that we are heading into a recession, it means that we're already in a recession, because a recession is a lagging indicator, meaning that it's already happened by the time that you find out that it happened, that it's happening, right? So we're already in a recession, ladies and gentlemen. Odds of a U.S. recession have been hotly debated, with the labor market and consumer spending showing resiliency after some of the most aggressive interest rate hikes in history. But Deutsche Bank sees a 100% probability that the U.S. will have one. Let me go ahead and address that really quick. I believe that the reason why we have been spending so much, as it states that we have, is because of inflation. It's because now the same amount of food that you were able to buy a year, 2 years ago, is costing you 30%, 50% more. It's because your average car has now gone up in price by $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 as opposed to 3 or 4 years ago. It's because your taxes are higher. All of these things, ladies and gentlemen, is why we as a public are spending more money. It's not because we're spending money on extravagant things. It's because we're spending money just trying to survive. If you want someone to blame, Deutsche Bank says that we should blame our policymakers because they created the boom-bust cycle that we are currently experiencing. And that, in my opinion, is 100% true. What they did is they made money so cheap that it created a wealth effect because people could borrow at a very cheap price. But now they're finding out that what you borrow, you have to pay back, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me for that. That was my phone. Can you imagine some of these families that are struggling right now? And someone's telling them, yes, we haven't even entered hard times. And unfortunately, we really haven't. And this is very sad, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and read you a good amount of this because I think it's pretty sad what Americans are going through. We're supposed to be the wealthiest nation in the world, but in actuality, we are what is the most indebted nation in the world. And what is debt, ladies and gentlemen? It's bondage, right? It's bondage. You are a borrower is slave to the lender, right? And that's what it is. So if debt is bondage, and we, the United States of America, are the most indebted nation in the world, what does that tell you, right? Let's see, and here's a few of their stories. We are feeling it. It's embarrassing to admit that we're struggling so much with what we make combined. Remember, if you take a look back before the 60s, where most families had a one income earner, and that was enough for you to have a pretty decent standard of living, to be able to send your children to college, to buy a car, to be able to save for retirement. What happened, ladies and gentlemen? Well, what happened is inflation happened. The government was able to get off the gold standard, which restricted them from printing as much money as they wanted, and they were able to get onto a fiat currency system, which now enabled them to go ahead and print all the money that they want, making the money that you earn worth less, and now making your standard of living lesser unless you have more than one person now working in your household. And now it's not only more than one person working in your household, but both of you working, and sometimes more than one job as well. Right? It says here, I broke down everything our money is going to, and they're genuinely all necessity things. Maybe I can penny pinch more with groceries and stuff, but I'm just completely overwhelmed with the fact that we're struggling so much for what our incomes are. Definitely feels like another depression. Right? Another one, we make about $60,000 a year. What happened to that $15 an hour? You all remember the $15 an hour that everyone was like, we want 15, march for 15. Well, $15 an hour is $30,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen. But listen to this. We make about $60,000 a year. And with inflation, we are falling behind on our bills. We can't afford the mortgage, utilities, and car payment, and food. We don't qualify for any kind of assistance whatsoever. I just got a second job, so hopefully that helps, but it's so hard right now. How many of you are in the same circumstance? That you have a pretty good paying job for like 5 years ago or so, 60 grand a year is a pretty good paying job, right? So how many of you are in this same situation where you're making a decent salary, but it's just that the price of everything keeps going up? It's why I tell you that inflation only steals from you your time. Because now if you want to maintain the standard of living that you were living a few years ago on that same 60 grand, you're not going to be able to. So you're going to have to work even more hours than you did before. Here, 5 years ago, we could put money aside every single month. Now we are pulling from savings every month, and we make $20,000 more. Listen to this. 5 years ago, they were able to put money away in savings. And now they're making $20,000 more than they were 5 years ago, but now they're having to pull money out of savings just to maintain their standard of living. Incredible. We do have a slightly higher mortgage now and 2 more kids than we did then. It's rough. I lost my job last year and I had to budget so much. I switched to Cricket, so the phone bill for 2 phones is $60 compared to $220 to $300 for Verizon. That's a great idea, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and make these switches that you need to make now in order to save that money. I mean, that's $250 a month they're saving by switching to a different phone plan. They say that for food, they cook all the time, but freeze the meat and make multiple meals from frozen vegetables, freeze the bread so that it doesn't go bad. They say I buy the Michelina, I believe is how you pronounce that, TV dinners that are $1.30 for mac and cheese and fettuccine alfredo for her 2 kids, 6 and 1 year old. And that usually gets her through the week. This is what's happening to the person and the persons that help to build and run this country. It's almost like if you work in a really fancy hotel, but you can never afford to stay in that same hotel or eat in that same fancy restaurant that you work for on the salary that you're paid. That's what America is turning into for the working person. It's like working for that fancy restaurant that you know you can never afford to eat in as a customer. It's very sad. And here I'll just read these last two. It's not just you. Sometimes I have to choose what bill takes priority over another. I live paycheck to paycheck, and every penny is for a bill. There's never anything left over. I'm a single mom, but I've been a single mom on my own for years. I used to have money left over for my hair and fun things like jump time with the kiddos. But now all of our fun activities fare free activities. All right, so they have to go and find things that are free to do, like nature walks, swimming in ponds, hikes, etc. Because this mama is broke, she said, and that is very, very sad. Very, and this is the saddest part that I've read in this entire article. Right, she's waiting patiently for inflation to go down. Ladies and gentlemen, that is very sad. Because this person obviously doesn't understand how inflation works. Inflation may go down, but that doesn't mean that your standard of living is going to go up. Because what you're paying now is what you're going to pay forever. And it's going to continue to go up, just not at as fast of a rate. So where right now inflation, I think that the last numbers we got was like 5%, something like that. Sure, it's less than 9, but it's still going up, just not as fast. That's sad. And they say just to vent, but is anyone else struggling financially right now? Yes, between me and my husband, we make $100,000 after taxes. Oh, smokes. So not bad, not amazing either. We both have pretty good jobs though, and we're struggling. We own a house, and outside of paying for the mortgage, bills, food, and the necessities, etc., it's like we have nothing left over at the end of our paycheck. Is anyone else in a similar boat? This is the state of our nation right now, because most people in the United States of America fall in the middle class. Right? It's the biggest group of people that there is in the United States of America. It's the middle class, usually in almost any country, right? Unless you're like a communist country. The middle class in the United States of America is being dwindled down. It's being dwindled down for some dystopian future that the WEF, the UN, this ESG, all of this kind of crap that's going on with non-governmental organizations that are trying to take over our governments through our corporations. Take a look at the video that I put up yesterday. All right, take a look at that video that I put up yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. I'll leave it right there. Check it out. Check and see what your future looks like as far as you even being able to drive. But I don't even think that driving is going to be a problem for most people in the future, because they're just not going to be able to afford to do it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you allow a government and a nation to be taken over by outside organizations and by ideologies that were not within the founding of that nation. We in the United States of America are not a communist nation. We're not a socialist nation. We are a capitalist nation, right? That's what we are. We are a godly nation. At least that's how we were founded. And now that we're being taken away from that path to godliness, to being good, to having good money, real money, look at what's happening. The foundation of our government will direct the country where it's going. And I'm just going to stop it right there. All right. But I hope that if you are struggling out there, I hope that you keep your foot to the metal and that you keep pushing forward and that you fight, ladies and gentlemen. Fight. They will lose in the end and we will win in the end. I want to say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your support. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.